Hey, welcome to this new version of YAG, version 0.8.0.1, in which a huge new feature is arriving in YAG. I have embedded the LUA scripting language into YAG, and this opens a very wide range of possibilities to customize the behavior of YAG. So for the moment, we can completely automate the character sheet and also modify the dice behavior. So as a quick demo, we have here a character sheet that has been prepared, and you can see, you're going to see that if I change some of its fields, the other fields will be modified automatically. So for example, I can change the level, and it will modify both the number of dice that I'm rolling for the fireball and the max hit point of the character sheet. So in order to take this change into account, I have to click this button that will launch a LUA script that will modify the character sheet. It's currently experimental, so I have to click the button manually, but when everything is alright, I guess this will be done completely automatically. So let's click the button and check the number of dice here. So you can see that we went from 4 to 8 and the life went up to 40. I can also modify some abilities. So for example, if I change the dexterity, it will modify the bonus for the initiative and for the hit formula. Alright, so we went from -3 to +2. I can do the same with the strengths, and there I will go from +2 to -3 here. The last thing that I have scripted for this character sheet is the modification of the type of weapon that I'm carrying. So in order to show you that, I'm going to need 2 extra hidden fields that you can hide or show using this checkbox here, and I'm going to explain later in the video what they are. But for the moment, I'm just going to transform the fireball into a sword, and you're going to see that as soon as I click the button, both the label and the formulas will be transformed here. Okay, so let's go back to the fireball, because I'm going to need its D6 here to show you the next feature that I have scripted in Lua. I have coded an exploding behavior for the D6, which means that every time a D6 will have a value of 5 or 6, it will be rerolled. So let's try that. We have here 1 6, so 1 reroll that gives a 6, another reroll that gives 1, and we have the full result here. So we've got 1 6 that gave another 6, that was rerolled into 1, for a grand total of 34. So how do we set up all that, and how does it work? In order to In order to show you that, I'm going to erase everything, including the content of the template character sheet here, and I'm going to quit YAG, saving this empty state. So the first time you are going to launch YAG with this new version, it will create a new directory called Lua that I just deleted. So I'm now rerunning YAG, so it's the first time we are running this version, and you can see that this directory is recreated. This directory contains a script that is the main script that will be called by YAG when it needs to call some Lua functions. So this can be customized here in this new panel, which is the Lua panel. You can choose the script that is going to be used, and by default is this one. And you can also choose where YAG is going to look for the modules that can be used into the scripts. So in order to set up our configuration at the beginning of the video, I'm going to go into the example directory, and I'm going to need a template character sheet here that will act accordingly to the script that I have provided in the example. So let's go into the character sheet and copy paste the template CSV, from which we can now import the template that has been prepared. Okay, and now from this template I'm going to create a new character sheet named foo, and I'm ready to go on. So let's have a look at the script. LUA script here. It is basically calling 3 functions. Those functions are the functions that will be called depending on what button we are clicking. So whenever we click a button or we call LUA anything, this script will be called. If we click this button, it will call this function. Those 3 functions, by the way, are part of the API that is described in documentation. I will talk about that later, so that's not random function, of course. So when clicking this button, this function will be called and will take care of the character sheet. When we click on one of those buttons, this function here, roll dice button, will be called and will take care of how to roll the dice. And finally, when the dice has been rolled and the result has been read by YAG, YAG will call a callback function, roll dice callback here, that will allow us, giving us the result in as argument, and this will allow us to take care of the result as we want. So the way I have set up that is I'm just loading a module and I'm calling the function of the module. So we are now going to look what this default module is doing. So we're going to take it here. And you can see that the default module is not very interesting. First of all, it's not updating the character sheet, it just returns what it was given. So if I change using this module now, if I change anything here and clicking this module, you can see that nothing is updated, obviously, because I'm not doing anything in this function. And if I roll if I roll a dice, the behavior will be very simple here. Just clear all the dice, roll the dice with the 2 formulas given, and the callback function is just displaying the results. Okay, and nothing else, nothing fancy. It's all very simple. So I have of course provided a much more interesting simple rule set that I'm going to open, and we're going to see it in action. But first of all, we have to load it. So simple rule set here. And now when I'm clicking this button, I'm going to use this rule set, and you can see that the dexterity will now be taken, new dexterity will now be taken into account. So what is this module doing? There we are going to need a bit more space. Okay, so first of all, the character sheet function here, the character sheet update function here, is first getting some primary variables from the character sheet that we are giving it as an argument. So it gets the level, the abilities, and the lines of weapons. Then from this, it's computing some derived variables using functions and tables here. A table for the weapon, a function that gives the hit, damage, formula, and range for all the weapons that are currently configured. Okay, sword, hammer, bow, and fireball. We also have a function to compute the ability modifier. Right, and we are using all that to compute the new values. Then when this is done, we are modifying the line using a modify line function that is available in the lib, the library modules loaded here. Okay, not going to show that. You can see you will have the code when you install this version. And we are now modifying the lines and returning the modify character sheet into YAG so that it can update the UI here. Okay, so this is how it works. The dice are also a bit different. So now when we click on one of those buttons, this function is called, and it's just clearing the dice and rolling the dice according to the formula, with a little bit of a reset for a variable here, but I'm not going to explain this. When the dice has been rolled, the callback function is called, and it's the callback that actually does all the interesting work for the exploding dice. Okay. So it calls a function that computes the number of dice rolled for the certain type and above a certain value. And when it gets back this value, it uses it to create a new function and roll the dice with this new formula, and roll the dice with this new formula as long as there are dice to be rolled. And when there are no more dice to roll, it just displays the result. And this is the behavior that we had. So for example, let's try that with a D10. And we're going to re-roll the D10 when the value is above, let's say 4, so we don't wait too much. And we have, of course, to re-roll a die 10. Okay, I'm going to save. And now I'm going to launch this function. And with the dice 10 of 3, it's not re-roll, so let's try again. I hope we've got some more luck here. Is that a 10 or a 0? It's a 0. Let's try again. 5 should be re-rolled. 1 re-rolled. 4 0. And we've got our dice 5 and 0 here with the bonus of 2, makes a total of 7. Okay, so this is how it works. This is quite simple. The last thing I'm going to show you in this video is where you can find, of course, more details about how this all works. So in the Lua directory, you've got a doc directory which contains 2 PDF, one in English and one in French. And when you open this PDF here, you've got all the explanation you need about how it works and the structures that are used for the character sheet table, the Lua table for the character sheet, the Lua table for the dice result. You've got all the functions that you can call from your script. Using a YAG object, you can get a directory, you can roll dice, clear dice, and display messages in the journal. And finally, you've got the explanation for the Lua function that I called by the YAG, the one that I just explained for the sheet, the character sheet updating, the roll dice button, and the roll dice callback. So you've got everything explained in here. Alright, I think this is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you will like this new feature as much as I liked coding it. So that was very interesting. It's only the beginning, of course. It's still completely experimental. I guess many things will change because there will be bugs, probably. There will be some feedbacks, and the API will probably evolve a lot. So this is just a first baby step, but I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching this video, and hope to see you in the next. Bye.